Hi! Hi, everyone. All right, so today we're talking about sex.
Baby.
That's why we wore the red lipstick. I was like, I'm putting on red lipstick. We're talking about sex today. Well, you know, I was talking because Shannon and I said, well, I suggested this topic, and she was so, what is this about? And I said, I just feel like we've been so deep and really kind of heavy over the past, couple of sessions, and so I just really wanted us to talk about something maybe not as heavy, though some
although
sex
it's probably going to
issues
get a little heavy.
Get a little heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, you're talking intimacy, and that can be, something that can really make or break a relationship, make or break a marriage. So, so I wanted to start with the amount of sex, because I feel like this is a question that a lot of people have in a relationship. What's the normal amount? What's the right amount? Is there too much? Is there not enough? If you're not having sex for 2 months, is that a bad sign?
So I first have to say, for some reason, I feel like I'm 12 years old and I need to do like a giddy laugh, like, oh, we're talking about sex. Okay, I got it now. Okay. Yes, now I can be a professional again, because I was feeling really like, oh my God, we're going to talk about sex live? Okay, I'm good. I'm better. So, great question. So,
because I'm sure you get this a lot in your practice, right?
I do. And this is such a great question. I think every question we could talk about for 20 minutes. Right. So I'll try not to. But the amount of sex, the first thing I want to say is compatibility. Yeah. A lot of people, I'm blown away. Sometimes people are like, oh no, we have sex every day. I'm like, okay, so we don't need to work on that. And I'm thinking, oh my God! Right? But some
when
people,
did they find the time?
I know, and some people are like really compatible that way, and they have it every other day, and they're both fine, and that's not even what they come in to talk about, or that's not even, friends of mine, like, that's not even their issue. Okay, great. I think really when you look at how often, there's two things I would look at. One is life stage. Mm-hmm. So much impacting life stage. When you see a newlywed couple, you're expecting more sex. Mm-hmm. When you see a couple with a 1 and a 3-year-old, you touch me, I'll kill you. I'm so tired. And even couples that are great and so in love, they say things like, wow, what I would do to you if I could move my arms. They're so exhausted, they're in the trenches. So it's really normal for sex to slow down when you have little ones. Mm-hmm. Then the next stage that I see so often is menopausal women that are struggling with, some of the medical issues and lubrication and things like that. And maybe they're gaining a ton of weight and they're not feeling sexy, or they're feeling agitated, all the things that come with hormonal changes. And so I'm hearing a lot around that. Also, for some reason, breast cancer pops into my mind. I think because I've seen people go through breast cancer and it affects the menopause situation, but a lot of hormonal stuff. So that's really
kind of health
issues, right? So you do see that there's less sex in those time frames when people are walking through those difficulties.
But what if you're not in one of those time frames? Right. I mean, like once a week? Is that average? I mean, or
again, I think that sex is about connection and safety. I think my favorite expression is everything is fine with sexuality until there's no sex. Mm-hmm. And that's where we tend to see problems, is that people are going 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years.
But that's not healthy, right?
Well,
I mean, even if both sides are not really wanting it or not acting like they want it, isn't it not healthy to have sex for that long in a relationship?
I think, in my opinion, it's a breakdown in intimacy and connection. I think almost everyone in America would report that when they're intimate, they feel closer and more connected. Mm-hmm. Men would certainly report that more than women, because for men, they tend to connect that way, right off the bat. Like, for example, you can see the differences between men and women when you look at a long distance relationship. Mm-hmm. You're away from each other for, a month or whatever, say someone's away at college or whatever, come back together. The first thing the man wants to do is have sex. And the woman's like, okay, how was your week? She wants to talk. And so for women, we connect emotionally and verbally, right? We want to talk and get to know. And then when we feel close to you, we want to have sex. Right. For men want to be physical. That makes them feel close. And then I don't know if they ever want to talk to us, but kidding. But that's their connection, and then they're not distracted, and then they're really present for all the other stuff. So that's a real
But what if you're in that where you're busy or you're tired or whatever, and your husband's like wanting to have sex all the time. I mean, how do you handle that? Because you feel pressure a lot of times.
Right.
You feel pressure to perform, you know?
Right. So I think that one of the things that people really have to look at in coupleships is that there's a setup, and this is the setup that causes damaging relationships with sexuality, is that one person wants it a lot, the other person then begins to feel pressured. If you talk to any woman in America, the minute we feel pressure, we don't want to. So there's something about feeling like I have to, I'm expected, that makes women shut down, withdraw, and which of course then makes the man that's wanting more say, hey, what's going on? Now it's been a week, now it's been 2 weeks. So I really want to shout out to all the men out there. This is, please learn this, understand this about women.
Romance.
Yeah, I did this on 50 Shades of Grey. When I first started working with Channel 12, I came to it through 50 Shades of Grey. Right. It was one of the ways. And one of the things I said that everybody in the studio made fun of me is women are crock pots, right? And men are microwaves.
When she gave me this analogy, because I did a story with her, and this was however many years ago. And when she gave me this analogy, it was like, wow. That is so perfect. All right, so explain why women are crock pots.
So men are microwaves because, as you know, they don't need much. Yeah. You kind of walk past them and you're like, hey, you want? And they're like, yeah, no, God, I'm not busy, And so they can turn on very, very quickly with a look, with a glance, with you walking by naked or touching. They're ready to go. Women, we do not turn on and off like that. We build up slowly. So the crock pot is that you cook it all day. You simmer it all day long until it's really juicy and wonderful at the end of 8 hours. Sorry, we're a little slow. So for example, men, instead of kind of coming home and going, hey, and we're like, hey, right? And we're not ready to turn on. If you text us at noon, hey, can't wait to get home. We don't have the kids tonight. Right. They're at a movie. What do you think we can get together? Now we're like, So then we kind of start simmering. So you want to be romantic. You want to kind of start letting the person know, wow, I'm thinking about you so much today. I can't stop thinking about you. You're planting those seeds, and then we will then water them, and then we're thinking, lingerie, or what do I want to wear? Right. And then we get into that mode. And so over the course of the day, we're now on the same page with the man.
Right.
So now remind me of your question.
No, the crock pot
Old
analogy. The crock pot analogy. Yeah, I mean you explained it. So basically we need to simmer.
Right. So we were talking about pressure.
Right.
So now go back. So if you look at the crock pot analogy, you're in big trouble if you're walking in the room going, hey, it's been 3 days. Do you think we can do this? We don't switch like that. So now you've already lost. And when women feel pressured, they shut down. So I think that we all have to, really talk about in relationships, what does the sexuality mean? Because what's going to happen, men, is that women are going to feel, and I hate to say this, but it's just true, we're going to feel used, taken advantage. Oh, that's all you want me for. Gosh, It was just 2 days ago. You're pressuring me. I don't know why we go there, but we do.
Yeah.
And so we need
we don't mean
to, but we really do. And so we need you to remind us, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So we need you to remind us, to say things like, I miss you.
Right.
We haven't connected this week. I know we've been busy with the kids being sick, but I just miss you. I miss holding you. I miss being physical with you. And we're like, you miss me? Right. But when you start looking at clocks and going, it's been 4 days and I'm getting kind of agitated.
And also just, complimenting you or doing something nice for you or snuggling without having to feel that pressure of having sex every time.
Right.
I mean, I think that's important too, because, you don't want to have to give them a look and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's go.
That's another common complaint, is that women feel like, and this is why you guys get shut down. I hope there's 1 million men watching today. We're giving you the answer. Right. Tune in. That's right. So we don't want to feel like if I kiss you, now we're in the bedroom.
Right.
We don't want to feel like if I, stroke your hair or come up behind you and hug you, now it means something. So what the woman needs, for the men, your growth opportunity is to touch her when you're not goal-oriented. Come up behind her and give her a kiss on the neck, put your arms around her, tell her she's beautiful, snuggle her in bed when you're not trying to have sex. and she'll be surprised, you know, and we feel it. We have like alarms. We feel it. So when you're just holding us and that's it, it's like, what's going on? This is wonderful.
Right.
So if you're investing in that way, you're going to actually find she's going to now be coming more towards you because she's now feeling more attraction to you, because once the pressure's off, most, not all, but a lot of women are sexual.
Yeah.
But the minute that we feel pressured, it really is bad.
Yeah, Caruso says making out is just as fun. That's
Yes,
true. Yeah,
it's so
just
true.
like a makeout session. You don't have to have sex every single time. Okay, so let's flip it now.
Okay.
What if your partner doesn't ever want to have sex? And you had a healthy sex life, but all of a sudden, like, nothing. I mean, my brain would go to, first of all, is he having an affair? Or, you know, what happened in the relationship? Like what?
Well, something has happened,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it would be natural to assume on both sides, is she having an affair? Is he having an affair? But I think that is a therapeutic issue. That is when you want to consider going to therapy. And a lot of times sex is just the symptom.
Right.
The real issue is the resentments that have built up. The real issue is that I've gained 50 pounds and I don't feel sexy anymore and I don't want you to come near me. The real issue is medical problems. The real issue is exhaustion. There's all kinds of issues underneath. So first, maybe start with a regular therapist, a couples therapist. But I will tell you, as a couples therapist, there have been times where once I've gotten into the issues, I've realized this is actually a sex issue.
Yeah.
This is maybe trauma. This is maybe resentments in the sexuality that's been going on for 5 years or whatever. So then there are certified, I'm saying this wrong, certified sex addiction therapists, but there's also sex therapists. There's a lot of doctoral sex therapists or people that have their specialty in that. And so I will recommend somebody that is near and dear to me, and she'll do that kind of work. So know that that's available. But if there's no sex, there's something going on.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware of what it is, please do see somebody. A lot of times people are aware that it's physical or medical or, you know, the resentment thing definitely is a therapeutic issue. If it's medical stuff, I think there just needs to be a lot of reassurance of each other and really talking about what are the other ways we can be intimate and close, because that is a very real phenomenon for a lot of folks, especially, you know, I know I've heard so many stories about menopause and like, this is painful for me. So that's not a fun experience. And it's not necessarily forever, but there's time frames. So talking about, you know, taking a bath together, you know, doing massages together, doing intimate behaviors that are not exactly sex or not exactly the act that's painful, so that you can stay connected. So be talking about it.
You know, I've had some girlfriends that have talked to me about, and they're dating, and then they say the guy doesn't really want to have sex in the beginning, and is that a normal thing? Because I feel like in the beginning, like if a guy's not wanting to have sex with you, I mean, let's say they've been dating for 3 months or something, and at that point, you feel like the guy should want to have sex with you.
Well, there's usually two things that I see with that. One is religious. You know, some people are their value system or their religion, and they're very uncomfortable when they want more of a commitment. And so I can certainly understand that. Again, hopefully you're talking about that and letting the other person know, hey, I'm going to get here, but I need more time to feel safe. So that makes sense to me. The other issue is that we see that a lot of times we have performance anxiety issues, you know, and also sexual abuse survivors. People that have had trauma around sexuality, they're going to be on the very slow track, you know, because I don't want to be triggered. I don't know what you're going to say or do. I don't want to go back to old trauma.
Right.
So you see that with sexual abuse survivors, certainly. But I see that with performance anxiety, this fear that, you know what,
I'm not going
to satisfy you, and my head is spinning, and then I'm going to lose my erection, and then, oh my God, then you're never going to call me again.
Right.
So I think when you have people who have performance anxiety issues, they're going to wait. They're going to be like, when this girl loves me,
right, then
like when
sex.
she cannot walk away,
right,
so that if I fail in my eyes, if things don't work out, she'll be like, whatever, I love you. Like, we're good, not a problem, and we can work through it. It's not really, think about it. It's not the sexiest in the first month or two to be like, oh yeah, no, my kryptonite doesn't, you know, it's like, it's
always
a problem.
work.
Right. I mean, there's so much shame around that. And just so you know, guys, it's so common.
It is
common.
common.
That is so common. And also medication. So it's, again, this is like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So when men are on medication, a lot of times medication causes problems. And again, it's so embarrassing. So do you really want to explain on the, you know, 5th date, like, well, I'm on, you know, whatever, whatever that blood pressure medication. I'm on the blood pressure medication, so things don't, it's like so uncomfortable. So a lot of times people just
wait.
Yeah. So
and those are issues you should be talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about fantasies.
Oh boy.
Because, okay, I feel like everyone has fantasies, right?
This was her idea.
Men and women have fantasies. Everyone has fantasies. But I feel like men always want to take it to reality. Yes. So why is that? And how do you address that? How do you deal with it in a relationship? But if you care for someone and want to be with them, you want to make them happy, and you want to step outside your box maybe sometimes, but I mean,
but you better step outside that box. Well, she's stumping me. So I think that fantasies are normal, and to be able to, I think the purpose of fantasy is to kind of spice things up and to talk about fantasies. But like you said, talking about the fantasy can heighten the connection, but not necessarily doing that actual fantasy.
Right.
So I think it's important to be truthful and to take care of yourself and to honor yourself, because I think what happens a lot of times in a lot of marriages, even long term, is people believe, well, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose this person, or they're going to cheat. And that is a heck of a way to live life. Like, that's a terrified way to live life, and you're not going to be able to have the intimacy that you really want. So I think a good rule of thumb for this is, even in the beginning of relationships, start talking about your boundaries. Start talking about, what, I'm open-minded to this, but this is something I'm never going to be comfortable with. And you need to know that, because if we're going to be together long term, I don't want to worry that that's something that you're going to need and that I'm not going to be able to provide. So I think communication is really important there. But please don't sacrifice yourself or violate because that's what it ends up feeling like, is you end up feeling violated when you're doing things you don't want to do. And then that's going to lead to resentment. And then that's a setup for affairs. Even on the opposite side, like the woman who's like giving in is going to be like, I'd rather just go feel loved over here. This doesn't feel good. So that's a bad idea. I'm not shaming anyone for having those fantasies and all of that and talking about it, but to be able to set boundaries and just saying, listen, I'm
not comfortable with
never wrapping in saran wrap. It's not going to happen.
Wow, is that one of your fantasies?
No. I think I heard it somewhere, and it always was like, what?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
wrapping in saran wrap.
Not doing
I've never heard that. Okay, so sex let's say you're just starting out in a relationship. What's a good amount of time to wait before you have sex with someone? Like, what's a good indicator of whether or not you're ready to move to that level?
Oh my gosh, I really think one of the things as a therapist that I don't do... Is
there a time frame?
You know what? That's what I'm saying. One of the things I don't do, I've learned through my own therapy, the therapist that says to me, you need to do this for 6 months, I'm like, that ain't happening. So I really think this is a personal decision. Because here's the rule of thumb. Checking out, being present with how you're going to feel, because that's what it's about. Is, you know what, if you want to sleep with the person on the first date, that's your prerogative. It's really about aligning with your value system. When someone walks in my office, I don't care what they choose to do, but I don't want them to violate their own value system and then hate themselves and beat themselves up. So that's what you kind of have to check out. If I'm with this person on the first date, am I going to label myself, I'm a slut, I'm a whore, I'm a bad person, am I going to put myself down? Or am I, you know what, as long as I protect myself, I'm comfortable with whatever I do, and if I end up marrying this person, fine. You have to live within your own boundaries and your own value system. I don't want anybody to wake up the next day and say, what did I do? I feel bad about myself. So you really want to be mindful, how am I feeling right now? How am I going to feel tomorrow if I do this? And pause and, check that out. And some people have rules. Some people are like, I don't do anything for 3 months or not before the 5th date. I mean, I hear so many different rules. And everybody's got a rule. Just don't violate your own rule.
Right. Really
be true to yourself. Don't let somebody kind of bully you or talk you out of what you believe and what your values are. That's where I really see people get depressed and feel badly and low self-esteem and all of it.
So speaking of that, honoring your value system, how do you pass that on to your children? I have a daughter, she's now 12, and I just, I try as often to talk to her about this kind of stuff, but I really feel like I just want her to really understand, how much she should value herself. And that's hard to teach a 12-year-old You know,
it's hard to learn at 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
true.
I've got lots
true.
of people. You know,
It's
I mean,
so
myself
true.
included. It took me years to be like, I'm valuable.
I'm worth it.
I'm worth it. There's a new song out right now by Danielle Bradbury called "Worth It," and it is just make it your anthem. It's such a cool song. It's a country song, but it's just talking about like, this is what I require.
Yeah.
I'm worth it. So I think that you know, this is going to sound like such a silly answer, but my daughter, who I didn't give an alert on this, and I'm feeling guilty right now. But one of the things that she has said that has been, that I believed and I knew cognitively, but I was winging it, you know, because she was 12 at one point and I didn't know. Role modeling.
Yeah.
Role modeling, self-love, role modeling, you know, saying things around your kids like, no, I'm not going to tolerate that. That's not okay. I would never let anybody treat me like that.
Right.
You're not going to allow them to treat you like that, are you? You're so special. I certainly hope you know that you know, this is your body and you don't ever have to let anybody treat you like that. You know, this is, you set your own values. But role modeling it for young girls is the most important thing. That whole, you know, do as I say but not as I do, it's really the truth. You can't be saying to your kids, like, as a cigarette's hanging out of your mouth, you couldn't smoke, it's a bad thing. Right. I mean, you can say it, but the statistics are going to show that they're going to do what they see because you're role modeling. So really role modeling, self-care, valuing yourself, you know, saying things like, we women, you know, we women, no, you make him wait, you know, this is special and your body's sacred, and like sending those messages and role modeling that.
Yeah.
You know?
What are some of the issues that pop up with sex?
Glenn says both of you are worth time, treatment, and respect. That's so sweet.
Glenn.
Thank you.
And all women are.
Yes.
I mean, all women
all
are.
People are.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear your question.
You were saying, I was just saying about, is there any other issues that pop up that you can think of that you see a lot surrounding sex?
Yes. I want to say this. So okay. With anything, we could be talking about alcohol, food, you know, any kind of something that feels good. Yeah. Anything that feels good can become an addiction. And so this is what I want to caution men, that for you, I'm kind of giving you the secrets. We're giving you the secrets on like how women, you know, crack pots and all that fun stuff. But one of the things to check yourself on when we're talking about pressure is, it's one thing to say, you know, hey, it's been 4 weeks, I miss you, you know, I'm lonely, and to communicate that. But if you are a guy who is having sex 3 times a week, twice a week, and the third time's coming up, you're like, wow, it's been 2 days, and you're starting to feel like, you know what, starting to feel agitated. When I have sex, I feel better. You know, I'm really needing this. You know, I work really hard and it's really a release for me. If you're starting to feel like you need it, and that then the person who's not providing it is now your source of frustration. Come on, Suzanne, like, you know I need this to feel better. Now you're looking at the very least, I don't want to call it an addiction because sex addiction is huge. I want to call it medicating. Yeah. Like because I will tell you, as a food medicator,
and as a wine
medicator, if Suzanne walks into the restaurant and she's craving her red wine, or if I walk into the restaurant and I'm craving my shrimp on the Barbie and you don't have it, I am agitated. Yeah. And that's how I know that I use food to medicate. It's not just like, okay, whatever, I'll just look and see what else. It's like, what do you mean you don't have shrimp on the Barbie? No, I'm having shrimp on the Barbie. I'm having a filet mignon. What do you mean you don't have that? So when you start getting angry at the other person because they are your provider of your drug, of your medication, of your thing that soothes you, what I would like you to begin to look at, and you know, women can be this too, so I don't mean to pick on men, but if you are feeling like you need this for your medication, to stop and say, now what are some other ways I can soothe myself? This partner is not interested right now. I'm not going to sit here and pressure them or guilt them. I'm going to say, now what do I need to do to soothe myself? This is my responsibility to soothe myself. So I think that can become a real issue where the person is getting soothing and the other person's feeling pressure, like I have to be your soother. Yeah. And then they feel guilty and they feel bad and then they feel angry and resentful. So really do look at intimacy is a way to connect. It's a beautiful way to share love, and it's fun and it feels good, but nobody's required.
It needs to feel good for both parties.
For both parties. Yeah. It's not a requirement.
You know, what about like porn? I mean, what's your take on that?
Gosh, wow.
I mean, because porn can really be used for kind of spicing up your sex life if both of you agree to it. But I mean, I feel like there's a slippery slope there.
I will warn you. I have some very strong opinions on this, and and I will tell you. I'm going to be honest with the world. So I had a situation once in my life where I became curious as a therapist. I'm not a prude, but I'm kind of a little bit sheltered, and I didn't have a lot of cases like that had to involve porn or anything like that. So one day I kind of woke up and I was like, what's the big deal with this? Like, why is everybody talking about this? I said, I don't even know really what porn is. I mean, I knew what it was, but I'm not sitting around watching it, so I don't really know.
You're not, Shannon?
I'm not. I had kids. Like, I'm busy. I don't have time for porn. So I said to myself, as a scientist, as a person who's, studying people, I'm like, what is this about? So I went to my computer. Okay, so I put in, just missionary, no big deal, just sex, And I watched for maybe 10 minutes, and it was nothing scary, nothing over the top. And okay, click another button, watch for a couple minutes. All right, nothing that I haven't seen before, on movies, whatever. Clicked another button. 20 minutes. I invested 20 minutes. Let me tell you something. I left there. My brain provided the images that I saw every day. I counted for 20 days. 14 to 20 days, my brain, I'd be just driving to the grocery store, I'd be like, woo! I'm like, whoa, okay, wow, okay, yeah, I remember that. My brain kept sending me the image, and every time, and then, you know what else my brain said to me? I didn't say this, but my brain said this to me. Well, you should probably watch something more intense, because you just watched missionary whatever, so you should probably, my brain wanted more stimulation. This was unbeknownst
and then what I think
to me.
is you start to think that's normal.
So what happens is the unsuspecting, not a therapist, not doing it from a scientific perspective, does what? Aligns with that. Okay, so they go home, they put it on for the next day, and the porn is so addictive because my brain, one time, 20 minutes, 14 to 21 days, it kept giving it to me. So now imagine if I do it every day. So here's what happens. My brain gets addicted very quickly, and now what I'm watching, my brain's getting a little bored. My brain got bored on round one. Hey, you need to really look at the real. You need to look at the real stuff. Right. That's exactly what your brain's going to do. So now you're watching 2 women, 3 women, 5 monkeys and a cougar. So now whipped cream's involved. Like, now you're watching scary stuff.
Did you just go to animals?
I did. I went to animals. So now you're watching scary stuff. Now, pause. Imagine this. You're watching every day. On the 30th day, you're watching outlandish stuff. And then your beautiful wife, Suzanne, walks in. I mean, face it, guys. She's beautiful. But
come on.
Does she have monkeys and chocolate sauce? I don't think so. So now your wife, you're not getting an erection. Your brain is like, it's not stimulated. So porn is devastating marriages because the man or whoever's watching the porn, it could be the woman, is fantasizing while they're with their partner, and their partner's trying to make eye contact, and they can see that they are not there. They are in the fantasy, they're in the video, they're imagining what they saw, they're trying to get excited enough to even be able to show up with their partner. So research this, Google this, I'm not making this stuff up. Porn has made a devastating impact on relationships, people's ability to be sexual, people's ability to be excited by each other. Now, some people will say they do it once in a while, they spice up the relationship, it doesn't bother them, and I believe that. But I know for my brain, which I don't think is all that uncharacteristic of other people's brains, it got hooked very quickly. It got triggered very quickly, and maybe it was the newness of it, and maybe I could have over time balanced that. But I think that there's a real issue to be careful of. And if you are someone who's doing porn every day, every week, whatever, and you are not attracted to your spouse recently, and you're like, she's gained a little bit of weight, I'm not, you're being affected by porn. The other thing about porn is the images are ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, unless I starve myself for 5 years, I'm not going to look like that ever. Right? So I think
what do you
important.
do if you have a spouse or a partner who's doing that a lot?
Get him this research. It is documented. I am not making this up. There are male therapists out there that absolutely will teach men, you are going to destroy your relationship with this. And they will explain everything I just said. There's research on it. Time Magazine last year, the cover of Time Magazine said this is the first generation of boys that will be impotent because our boys are growing up with porn at 11 and 12 and 13.
On YouTube and all over.
So
interesting.
I find sex boring, and I think that's why I've stayed single for so long. Haven't found it to be exciting. Could be the partners I've had or just me. I'm going to say something outlandish here, but it could be the partners. It could be that, you're not opening up or you're not open emotionally to it. So it might be something to kind of work on. The other thing is sexuality is on a continuum. And I think a lot of times we assume that we're heterosexual. We assume that, this is the person that turns me on. This is the person that I'm attracted to. And I know I've had people in my lifetime that have not been aware that they kind of just grew up thinking like, oh, I like boys, I like boys, I like boys, I like boys. And they're bored and they're like, okay, when is this going to be done? They don't get twizzles in their stomach. And then somehow they fall into a situation where they're close to a female or they end up kissing and they're like, oh, wow, this is where, so, sexuality is on a continuum, and sometimes people are not all the way here, all the way heterosexual, or all the way like they're clear, I'm gay, I know it. There are people that can be
in the middle.
Right in the middle, or there are people that do not know. I went through this with one of the dearest friends I have in my whole world. She did not know till she was 20 something. And was like a bit surprised by it all. She just assumed. And now I'm so proud of her. She's a lesbian woman and she has, children and she's living a wonderful life. But she literally didn't know. So I have to say, as a therapist, as a friend, I've heard that I'm bored. I don't get that swing in my stomach. I don't get that excitement. And sometimes that's what it is. I also want to be respectful to millennials and my daughter, they have all these new categories like, oh no, Mom, she's asexual. She doesn't have that. And I'm like, okay, I didn't learn that in school. But they're all different types of categories of how people respond. So definitely, consider talking to a therapist about what it might be some emotional stuff that's keeping you guarded.
Yeah. The other thing, Delwana, she goes, no, I do like men.
Okay, but it might be emotional stuff that keeps you guarded. I just wanted to share that for lots of other people too.
The other thing is, comfort. I feel like, sex has always been boring for me unless I'm with someone that I'm completely comfortable with.
Safety.
And then it's exciting. And then it can be, something that I'm really enjoying. But, it's hard for a lot of people to get past that. Yeah. It can be a little robotic until you get with a person that you really feel comfortable with. I
100% agree. That's why I say when you're in a marriage or whatever and you're having trouble with sexuality, get to a counselor because it's about safety and it's about the other issues going on. And when people feel safe, they tend to feel sexy and sexual. Joni's saying, I feel that men over 50 are highly addicted to porn, sex, and strip clubs. They live a secret life and come home to their families after maybe picking up hookers or whatever. And I would never make a generalized statement that all or whatever, but we are seeing this whole secret life thing a lot in
the
my
internet.
Field.
I mean, it's just so much more accessible.
So much more accessible.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. When I was 20, you couldn't just swipe and meet somebody. You had to really meet them. Hi, and go talk to them, and
Well, it highlights everything. The good and the bad. I remember my brother when we were younger. He would go in the top of my dad's closet and get his Playboys and put them under his bed and read them, and I would be like, oh.
Yes.
And I totally remember that. But he was young. He was probably like 7 or 8.
Wow.
I mean,
you gotta hide your stuff better,
Dad.
Dad. Really? Yeah. Suzanne's dad.
Right. Well, now it's just they don't need to go in the top of Dad's closet. They just go on the computer.
So accessible. So what you're highlighting, Joni, is that what Time Magazine was saying. Like we're having a lot more addiction because people are accessible, and who's going to tell a 9-year-old that what feels so good is bad? Good luck with that, you know? So it's really about blocking their phones and kind of protecting them. And I got to be honest, with my kids, I said from day one, my take was, you have a choice. Not that I would condone it or make it available, but you can sneak and go and do, but you are hurting you. Right. And what you need to know is you will destroy your ability to be intimate with your wife, your ability to enjoy sexuality when it's age appropriate, when you're 20 years old or whatever. You are destroying that option. I think when you have a 14, 15-year-old kid, they can hear you. They'll roll their eyes, they'll walk away. But be saying that. Be saying, hey, you know what? Fine, do that. Read this article though, because this is what's going to happen to you. These are the problems that are coming down the pike that you're going to have to work on and fix, and that will prevent you from having the life that you're hoping to have with maybe a wife and kids and not lying and not going underground. So I think it's really important to let them know, I'm not telling you, I'm not being the boss of you, I'm telling you this because it hurts you.
Yeah.
Same as I don't want you to do drugs because it hurts you.
It's a very interesting take because, you can only imagine that that's kind of the path that we're going down with a lot of these. Yeah.
It is. But I got to tell you, when I tell people, they hear me. They're like, wow, you're right. I am not as interested. Or, people can see that. People can hear this. This is not, I don't feel like it's a lost cause.
No, it's not. It's not. So if you guys have any comments, obviously leave them on the bottom of the screen and we'll try to get back to you. If this is bringing up something that you're experiencing in your life, just know that the best next step is to contact someone who you think who can help you. Contact a therapist. Go see someone that maybe deals with this kind of thing if you know someone or if you're dealing with sex addiction or anything like that.
And just know that there are very specific, like there are people that are certified sex addiction therapists. There are people that are, have their doctorate in sex therapy for couples. There are trauma specialists if you've been sexually abused and you're finding that you're shutting down and you're not enjoying intimacy because it's triggering you. So please take the time to do the research to find the person that's right for you.
And if you're feeling like your spouse is, there's a conversation you need to have over sex, do it tonight, because communication is the key in these kind of issues. All right, thank you all for watching What Your Friends Won't Tell You. If you, we would be honored if you would share our video and like our page, and make sure you tell your friends what your friends won't tell you. All right, guys. Well, we hope that this was enlightening, and have a great day. Bye.
Take care. Bye.